Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video will be on this beautiful gown for our princesses today. So we are preparing for the season and let's get straight into the video without wasting so much time.
Hello everyone, so for this tutorial I'll be using 1.5 fabric of this 1.5 yard of this fabric. So I have a scuba fabric. This is the old version of the scuba. It's the very thick one. The new versions are very light compared to the one we used to know. So if you did, sometimes I work with the old one, so if whichever you found, just make sure the fabric you are going to be using is something foamy and thick. So that's why I went for this fabric. So I folded my fabric from the longest side of it. So I folded just so that I will have a narrow fabric to cut. I don't want to start cutting a long fabric. So you're going to be cutting that, that plating on the lower side. I'll try to put it in to include. Oh, it seems like I'm talking so fast. So I'll include a picture of the lower side that I'm talking about. So the plating there, that's what we want to cut out. Normally I cut out 5 inches or 5.5 inches. Sorry for the noise. There is something passing through. I cut out 5 inches or 5.5. By the time I use 1 inch for this side, 1 inch for this side, I'll end up with 3 or 4 depending on this age I am working with. But because I have a limited fabric here, this is a leftover fabric that I want to use for this tutorial because someone requested for it. I'll be marking 4 inches. So I'll be using 1 inch on both sides. So half inch here, half inch here. I'll try to manage it. So I'll be marking 4 inches here. I'll be cutting out 4 inches. And what I'm cutting is for a 1 to 2 year old. So if you are making for a bigger child, please increase your yardage of fabric. I have 1.5 inches here, 1.5 yards here. So I'm not sure it's up to it's not even up to 1.5. So that's why this place is small. So like I cut this and use it to cut out the how many I have like 3 or 4. So for the bodies of this gown, I'm going to be cutting the back and the front separate so that I'll be able to manage this fabric. So what I'm going to be folding here is my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5 inches plus about 2.5 inches or 3 inches depending on how wide you want the A line to be. So I hope you understand this. Your bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5 inches plus 3 or 2.5 inches. So I have my measurements here and I'm going to be calling this out so that after some months someone might ask me and I will not be able to give out this measurement. So just like I said, this is for a 1 to 2 year old. That's what you're making this for. So the length of it is 20 inches, the bust is 20 inches, the shoulder is 7 inches, the half, okay, we don't need half length today, and we don't need sleeve. So this is what we need: the length, the bust, and the shoulder, basically. So that's what we need for this style. So I hope you got the measurement because you might ask me tomorrow and I won't remember it anymore. So the bust is 20 inches divided by 4, so we have 5 inches plus 1.5 inches plus 3 inches. So let's do 3 inches. So you have about almost 10 inches, or let's say 10 inches. So I'll be folding with 10 inches. So guys, this is what we have. Our 10 inches is here, and I went ahead to pin this down. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to take my measurement, and then the first measurement I'm going to be taking is the length of the gown. So the length of the gown I said is 20 inches. So I'll be marking 21 inches. So my tape is at the starting point. So I'll measure 21 inches. So I want my measurement to start from here. So I'll measure 20 inches plus 1 inch stitching allowance, 21 inches. Then I'll be adding half inch for stitching, for shoulder stitching, when I want to cut it out. So that's why I just added 1 inch stitching allowance to it. I just hope you guys can see this, so you can see the measurement. So once I am done with that, we're going to go ahead and start inserting our measurement. So for my shoulder, I said my shoulder is 7 inches, if I'm not mistaken. So I marked 7 inches, 3.5 inches. That's shoulder divided by 2. And then for my bust point, I'm marking 4 inches. That's shoulder divided by 2 plus half inch. So I have 4 inches here. So I'll go ahead and connect this. Like, the armhole is not supposed to be fitted. So if you like, you can also mark 4.5 inches. So it's not supposed to be fitted, depending on how free you want it to be. So once I am done with that, I'll go ahead and mark. I'm supposed to add ½ inch here for stitching allowance. My bust measurement divided by 4, which is 5 inches. And then usually I add 1.5 inches, but I feel that the 1.5 inches, that's stitching allowance and allowance for ease, it won't have a zipper. So the 1.5 inches seems to be big, so I started reducing it of recent to 1.25 inches. So I'll mark at 1.25 inches. So this is what we have. So I'm just going to take about ½ inch to stitch it, and then remaining one is just for ease. You don't want it to be too fitted. Just like I mentioned, it's not going to have a zipper. So once I am done with this, I'll go ahead and mark our neckline. And for my neckline, I am marking at for the width of it, I'm marking at 1.75 inches, and then the depth I am marking at 2 inches. So we have 1.75 and then 2 inches, and I also make a round neck, a curve for a round neck. Then from the shoulder slope, I'm going down by ½ inch, and then at this point I'll now add my stitching allowance for the shoulder area. So you can see I added ½ inch stitching allowance to it. So this is what we have for the shoulder. So I'll just measure what I have at this bust area. I have 6.5 inches, so I'll transfer it to the hem. So you're going to mark 6.5 inches here, 6.5 inches here, and then I'll add 2.5 inches to 3 inches depending on how wide you want this side to be. So I'll add 2.5 inches because usually when it becomes too wide, it doesn't give that it has some unusual, I don't know how to explain it, it just looks odd. It looks odd, for a lack of better word. So this is what we have for it. So you connect it as a slanted line to meet that, and that's basically all for this. You're going to transfer this to, we're going to use it to cut out our back bodies. You can see I have excess here, which I don't like, but anyway, we move. Okay guys, for the back, I've transferred my front bodies to another fabric, another folded fabric, and so we're going to go ahead and cut it out. For the neckline, I'm coming down by 1 inch for the neckline, and then that's only different from the back, so every other thing is the same. So I'll go ahead and cut. So guys, this is what we have. So remember I said it's not going to have a zipper, so I'm going to go ahead and open the back bodies so that we'll be able to, so that it will have a wider neckline, and then we're going to attach a button loop and button at that area. So we're going to go ahead and cut out the facing for this gown. So to cut out the facing, I'll fold my fabric into two, just like we've been doing, and then I'll bring in any of these, whether the front or the back. I'll pick up one. So once I pick up one, the same thing I'm going to be doing to this side is what I'll do for the other side, or for the other side of the gown. So just use the same method. So I'll place it this way, making sure that sorry for the shake, making sure that the center matches the center, and also it got to the armhole area, but I don't want it to be too low. So once it passes the armhole by 2 inches or 3 inches, I'll stop. So this is what we have. I'll go ahead and cut this out. So that's just basically how to cut out your facing. So guys, I'm done cutting out the facing. You can see this is the front, and then this is the back. So I'll go ahead and remove my pins, and then I'll open up my bodice from the front side, and then I'll pick up my facing and place it at the front side, at the right side or front side of my gown, and then I'll pin it down. So I'll go ahead and pin this down. I'm just pinning down the opening that we made earlier because I don't want it to move while I'm stitching it. Then I'll pin the armhole as well. Once I am done with this, I'll go ahead and stitch this way from the neckline up to this place. I'll stitch this way, and this way. Once I am done, I'll stitch the 2 armhole. So I'm going to be attaching a button loop. So let's put this into, let me show you guys how to put it before we continue. So this is the loop I'll be using. So this is that rope that I used to make your corset. So you just cut out a little from it. I'm going to go ahead and bond this edge so that it doesn't keep spoiling. I don't know the right word to use. So I'll put it in where you can see the way I'm placing it. So this folded part will be inside your fabric. So you place it this way, and you leave about ½ inch stitching allowance that you're going to use to stitch the armhole neckline. So that's how you're going to stitch it. So by the time you stitch it and turn it to be outside, and please give it extra stitch here so that it doesn't pull out. You know, this is a child's clothes. So you're going to go ahead and pin this with that buttonhole that we have. So the same thing we did here, we're going to be doing for the front as well. I'm going to pin this off camera, but let me just show you guys what to do or how to go about it. So you're going to open it up just like we did for the front, for the back, sorry, and then we're going to place it this way, and you stitch the neckline, stitch the 2 armholes, and then we're going to turn it to the right side. So guys, I'm done stitching the neckline and the armhole. So I've already started slashing this before I remember. So as you slash open the opening here, and then you make notches around it. Please make sure not to cut through your thread or through your stitch line. Then you cut out any excesses around. Then at this point you cut out the excess here so that by the time you turn it, it doesn't have some bulge there. Then this side as well, and then cut out all excesses, and then make notches around the neckline and the armhole. So guys, I'm done with it. I'll go ahead and turn this to the right side. So this is what we have. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to do front facing front, and then arrange the shoulders and stitch it down by ½ inch, and also stitch this down. Once I am done, I'll go ahead and serge this so that we are going to use our hemming gum and put it down. But if you don't have your serging machine, you can just do this way. Put your hemming gum and put it down. So once you are done with that, I'll go ahead and stitch on the both side and also hem this part. Then we'll go on to the other side of this. So for the ones we are going to be using to do our pleats, remember the first cutting we did for 4 inches. So this is what we have. So what I'm going to be doing is to serge both sides and then fold it in this way by 0.25 inches, just tiny weeny something, and then I'll stitch it down, and then I'll fold this place and stitch it down. This is the part of this style that I don't like. So if you don't have a serging machine to serge before you turn, just fold into 2. But that means you're not going to be using 4 inches for yours. So you fold it into 2 and then stitch it down all the way to the end. So you're going to be doing it for the 3. And also I'll join it this way, stitch it down so that I'll have a long strap. I'll have a long fabric to work with. Okay guys, finally we are back from our long journey. So this is what we have. I'm done with the with everything. So this color of fabric, I don't even know what the color is, coral peach or something. I couldn't find the exact shade of thread, so you can see the thread is different from the fabric kind of. So I've already serged everywhere. This, I'll be adding my hemming gum here, just like I mentioned earlier, and also hem this as well. So you're going to turn it to the right side. In fact, this part you're going to go to the machine and do it together. But before we move, let me show you guys what we are going to be doing. So you're going to open up your most times I start from the back to do my, and make sure this side is pushed inward. You don't want to stitch on it, so you have just one. Then you pick up your long strap of fabric, and see I'm done with serging, with hemming it, just like I said earlier. So I'll place it this way from the center back. I'll leave some allowance, and then I'll start. I'll put my, make sure it gets to this end though, so to the end of the fabric. So I'll put my presser foot to hold it down. Then I'll start my stitching. So this plate depends on how much fabric you have. So this is the way we are going to be plating it. So you plate this way, and then you plate this way. So you're stitching at the center of it. You'll be stitching at the center of this. So this is what we have. So then you plait again, facing this one, and then you leave some space, and then you plait again, facing outward. So I hope you guys can see what I am doing here. So this is how it's going to look. So let's go and do it together. So guys, just like I mentioned earlier, we'll be starting from the back of this gown to the front and then to the back. So that's what we are going to be doing. So I'll open up the back side of the fabric, and then I'll bring in the long strap of fabric that we made earlier. I'll place it this way, making sure that it aligns with the hem of this gown. And then, just like I said, you're going to leave some allowance here. So because you're going to, by the time you get to this place, you're going to join it. So I will start my stitches. Because this fabric is my machine is jumping, the stitches are jumping, so I'll just use my candle to chalk it so that it doesn't keep the stitches doesn't jump. There's another way to do this so that the stitches doesn't jump, but I don't have that paper tape, so I'll be using this candle to do this. So you're going to plait again this way to meet that first one that you did. And then you plait outward. Please wash your hemming side and make sure it gets to that place. So you're going to continue this way until we get to the other side of the back. Okay guys, as I go to the end, so this is where we started. You can see the excess. So as I've gotten to the other side of it, so I'm going to remove this, and then I'll go ahead and join this together before closing up. So I'll turn it like this and join it from facing front before we'll close it up, and then we'll do the next line. You know, it has double line. I've closed up the back. You can see where I joined it, and then I pushed it inside and close it up. So the next thing we're going to be doing is to work on the second plate of this gown. So to do that, we are going to also start from the back, just like we did for the front one, and then I'll bring in my strap of fabric. Sorry about the noise. There is a working a construction site around me, so that's why you are hearing that kind of noise. So I'll bring in the strap of fabric as again. I'll still place it this way, making sure that both of them matches at this point. So just like we did for the first one, you're going to leave some allowance here, and then you're going to hold your fabric down with your presser foot, and that's it. Then make sure that the fabric under is not into your stitching line, and then you start your pleats. You start pleating into, just like we did for the front one. So you start pleating. I'm not going to leave this recording for a long time. Just want to show you that you've already done it for the first one. So you're just repeating the same process. But this side, just make sure that it matches as you're going. And then you continue to the end, to the end. So guys, I've gotten to the end, and then I searched this to join. So I'm going to go ahead and make the last plate, and also make sure that all the join is inside. You guys don't want to know what happened earlier. So I was stitching, and in fact I've gotten to the end and cut out the excess. That's when I realized that the thread in my shuttle finished, and I was just stitching and going. I was lost in thoughts. Hey, in fact, I didn't know how I felt, because I thought that this work is finished. And that's a wrap for this plate. This is the part that I don't really like. See this plate? Hemming the two sides of the long strap of fabric is a lot of work. That's the part I don't like, but every other thing is easy for this style. So that's it. So let's go to our table to continue. So guys, this is what we have. So I'll go ahead and iron out all of them, and then see the gown. I'm going to go ahead and attach a button here so that we'll be able to close up this side. And remember, forget to add your hemming gum at this facing part to hold it down. And then the last thing is to do what, after ironing, is to attach your bow to it. And that's it for this style. I hope you find value and you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, share my videos to family and friends, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and give me a thumbs up. I don't even know what I'm saying again, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.